Hey guys, it's February 7th, 2026, and it is National Wear Red Day. If you're not aware of what that day is, it is in support of spreading awareness about cardiovascular disease. And if you're a woman and didn't know this, 1 in 3 women die every year from cardiovascular disease. I had my own issues with heart problems 12 years ago. I gave birth to my son Christian, and right after I gave birth, I was diagnosed with postpartum cardiomyopathy. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the way my cardiologist said is it's basically having a heart attack without really having a heart attack, which sounds crazy. But basically, after I gave birth to my son, I wasn't diagnosed at first, but I gained a lot of weight. So I was in the hospital for a couple of extra days because one, I had a C-section, and then two, my son had jaundice. But I was larger after I gave birth than I was when I was pregnant, which was weird. I swole up that much. And my OBGYN, who actually delivered my son, she thought I had preeclampsia, is what she was thinking. They didn't go through all the checks to see if I had preeclampsia, but I knew that I didn't have preeclampsia because my doctors were monitoring me 1 to 2 times a week after I got close to the pregnancy. I'm sorry, not the pregnancy, the delivery date, because of the fact that I was swelling up so much. And for preeclampsia, I was told that there are 3 things that you have. There's blood in your urine, you're swollen, basically retaining a lot of water. And then the third thing is you have high blood pressure. I didn't have high blood pressure. I was swelling up around my legs and ankles and different things like that. There was blood in the urine, but I didn't have the third thing. So what my doctor wanted to do, he wanted to at least get me to term. And so once I got to term, they delivered, at that point. And what is it? Is it 37 weeks? I can't remember what the actual term, week amount is. But he got me to term, and then they were going to induce labor, once I got to that point. So go to the hospital. I'm fine. I'm not feeling bad or anything like that. Deliver my son. Eventually, it was going to be, the natural birth, but then it went to, nope, he's stuck. He's not coming out. We got to do a C-section. So did a C-section. Everything went, great, with that. I think that any possible thing that could happen, like I got the chills, when after I gave birth, and I'm sitting here shaking, and I'm not cold or anything, and I'm looking at my husband. I was like, "Do you see me shaking?" And he's like, "Yes." And I'm like, okay, I feel myself shaking. I can't stop shaking, so didn't know what was going on with that, but eventually everything, was fine. But like I said, I had gotten so big. I mean, it was like so much liquid or whatever on me. And so I think my son was born on, I want to say it was a Thursday. And it was either Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday. And it was in 2013. Halloween was the next day. So he was born on, Halloween was the day before. He was born on November 1st. Halloween was the previous day, so in 2013, whatever the dates that was on. And so I got out on Tuesday because, like I said, one, I had the C-section, so you got to stay in there a little bit longer, and then he had jaundice, so, had to be in there with him. We go home that Tuesday. We get home that Tuesday, and I notice when I'm laying down or laying a certain way, it just felt funny. It felt like there was pressure on my chest, and I didn't know what it was. So all I would do is I would just shift. I'd shift my body and, move, and it felt a little better. It wasn't painful. It was just felt like pressure. And then by the end of that week on Friday, I wake up and I'm telling my husband, I said, something's wrong. I said, I'm feeling jittery. And, we'll come up with any type of word to explain what's going on with us. And I was telling him, I said, I'm feeling jittery. I don't know any other way to explain it. And I said, we need to go to the hospital. Now, my husband, he wanted to take us all the way back to where I gave birth to my son in Charlotte. And I told him, I was like, nope, nope, can't wait for that. We need to go to the hospital, that's here. The hospital that where I live isn't the best, hospital. That's why he wanted to go back to Charlotte, because they knew about me. They knew everything that was going on. And I said, no, we got to go here because I'm having problems breathing. I'm jittery. Something's wrong. And so he was like, okay, well, when you get in there to make them work on you faster, tell them you can't breathe. And they'll have to work on you. I was like, well, it's true. I am having problems breathing. So I go in there, got my newborn son. He's not even a week old yet. So my husband has him and everything. And it's so funny with, when you're going through different things, your hormones have you going all types of ways, and I'm like feeling like I want to cry and I don't know what's going on. And I'm really not a crier type person. So I'm like, hormones just going whack. So I get in there and tell them that what's actually going on. And they take my vitals and everything. They take me in the back. And when I go in the back, I'm laying on this bed, and they're doing all types of tests, and nothing, is coming up, like wrong or anything. I told them, yes, I just had my son, blah, 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 all of this. Finally, by noon, now when we went there, it was really early in the morning. I want to say 7 o'clock, it might even been earlier than that. It was that early. By noon, a cardiovascular a specialist came in, and a cardiologist. He came in and he started talking to me. Well, actually, before that happened, there was a doctor that was on the night shift. They were going to change, shifts and everything. And when he walked by, he saw me. He came to see how I was doing. He said, you look like my wife did, last year. He was like, we got to get this fluid off of you. And I'm like, okay. And so he gave me some type of fluid pill. I can't remember the name of it. Some of you watching it probably know the name of it. But when I tell you how fast that pill worked, when I put that pill in my mouth, I literally had to get up within 5 minutes to go use the bathroom. And he kept, trying to get the fluids and stuff off of me. And then the cardiologist came in, and he said, okay, he said, well, looking at you, you're healthy. You just had a baby. You don't drink. You don't smoke. He said the only thing that it could be, considering the condition of your body and, you being so healthy, is you have postpartum cardiomyopathy. And I'm like, what? And I got my iPhone. He's like, go ahead, I'll spell it for you, pull it up and everything. So I pull it up, and he said, you'll see one of the variables that is a factor with getting this is, one, you just had a baby. 2, which is crazy, African American women are more prone to this than other women. And I'm like, is there anything that, I was like, everything is a knock, but that's what it ended up being. He said my heart was functioning when they did all the tests at 20 some percent, low 20%. But he felt confident that I would be able to get back to 100% based on that I was healthy. I was exercising. I ate well. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke and all of that. So luckily, I was one of those women that I got back to 100% in. It took about 6 or 7 months. Like, they had me on different pills and medications and things like that, trying to balance it out. And I would go in and I would get checked. It was like, in the beginning, it was once a week, because they wanted to make sure the pills that I was taking was appropriate. And I had like 4 or 5 pills. And if you're like me, you hate pills. I hate taking pills. I don't remember to take them. I don't want to take them. So that was a big thing for me. And then they just started dwindling down to eventually, like I said, in about 6 or 7 months, I got to the point of I was able to come off everything. And that was 12 years ago. But that's why it's so important for women to know about all of these items. You know, who knew that just because you had a baby, you could get postpartum cardiomyopathy? You know, and I've seen women who they've gotten it, they've died from it. I've seen women who had to get heart transplants. I was watching something on the news today, and that's what prompted me to do this video, because the young lady, she went through it, and she was 35. I was 40, you know, when I went through it. She was 35, and she actually had to get a pacemaker because it was so bad, you know, with hers, that her heart couldn't be salvageable. So I say this to say, ladies, take care of yourself. Make sure that any type of issues or anything that may be going on that you're not sure of, don't second guess yourself. You know, we are too important and too vital to ourselves as well as so many other people. We need to make sure we're doing the best for us. And we know as women, we're forever taking care of everybody else, but not taking care of ourselves. So I was blessed to be able to make it through that. I've had other things. If you've seen my other videos, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. The last time I had cancer was over a year ago, but it was stage 0 for that. But when I got it 20 years ago, it was stage 3, you know. So I've gone through some different things, but by the grace of God, I'm still here, and I'm here for a reason. So hopefully this shed some light, you know, on just some things that have happened to me that some of you may be going through. It's tough, you know, and we always need someone to be able to talk to. And I say that because we try to just take on so much stuff. And hopefully this video kind of helps someone else to kind of see that there is light, you know, at the end of the tunnel. But we got to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. So have a great Black History Month, because it is Black History Month. And take care of yourselves.